Which is better, the Motorola Moto G Stylus 5G 2023 or the Motorola Moto G Stylus 5G 2022? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison of these two stylus-equipped smartphones from Motorola. Now, as the name of the Moto G Stylus 5G 2023 implies, this phone is the successor to last year's G Stylus 5G 2022. And in many ways, this phone is simply an evolution from its predecessor. We're not getting a ton of new features, but at the same time, there are some new things. I'm looking forward to showing you all the various differences and similarities in this video. Now, the first thing I want to mention is pricing and availability. Now, this time around, with the G Stylus 5G 2023, this phone features an MSRP of $50 cheaper than its predecessor at just $399. However, this phone is being offered at a variety of different carriers as well, and if you do get the phone through a carrier, you'll definitely be paying quite a bit less. Carriers typically give really excellent deals for smartphones because they want to keep you in that carrier, so unless you really think you're going to be moving carriers sometime soon, I definitely recommend going the carrier route. But overall, it is nice to see that the newer generation is a bit more affordable. That being said though, now that the G Stylus 5G 2022 has been available for a while and that it has a successor model, I do feel like this phone probably will be getting some price reductions as time goes on. So overall, based on price for which one you should get, I guess you just have to see what different offers and deals are available. Now moving on, I want to discuss the displays of these two phones. Now side by side, it does seem like with the G Stylus 5G 2023, the display is a bit brighter, which is nice. However, it is a smaller display at 6.6 inches compared to 6.8 inches. Now you can see side by side here, without a doubt, the G Stylus 5G 2022 is the larger phone of the two. So I'm not sure why they decided for the G Stylus 5G 2023 to be smaller. Overall, when you're using a phone that has a stylus, it is pretty useful to have the biggest display possible, just because it gives you more canvas to draw on and do different things. So even though this time around the display is smaller, it's not like it's a really small display either. It's just a little bit smaller than the predecessor. But then beyond that, both phones do feature IPS LCD displays. They both feature 120 Hz as the refresh rate, so that's a nice premium feature that up until recently you wouldn't really find with mid-range phones like these. With the G Stylus 5G 2023, we are getting a PPI of 399 compared to 395, and then we're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio compared to a 20.5:9 aspect ratio. So the display is a little bit shorter and less narrow with the G Stylus 5G 2023, but overall it's not a huge difference. And then another thing that is different is the screen to body ratio. So the bezels are a bit smaller this time around with the G Stylus 5G 2023, giving the phone a screen to body ratio of 87.5% compared to 85.8%. So those are all kind of really small differences, but in general, both phones do have really great looking 1080p displays. And if you do use your smartphone for watching videos and you just want to sit back, relax, and consume that content, you'll be very happy with either one. Now, both phones do feature 16 megapixel front-facing cameras, and definitely stay tuned for my full review video of the G Stylus 5G 2023 to see a bunch of different photo and video samples from all the various cameras here on the phone. Both phones also feature 256 gigabytes of storage, along with microSD card expansion. So already, starting with 256 gigs, that's a lot of storage. I feel like that's plenty, probably way more than most people need. So that's a really good thing, especially if you find yourself filling up your smartphone very easily with photos and videos and all that various content. So definitely if you're tired of always getting notifications about your phone storage being full, I think you'll be very happy with either of these two phones. Of course, unless your current device also has the same amount of storage. And then since both phones do have microSD card expansion, you can easily add in an SD card to offload photos and videos, for example, to free up some of that internal space. Now, neither of these two phones have wireless charging, which is a bit disappointing. However, they do both have fingerprint sensors on the power button. So we'll give that a try first here with the G Stylus 5G 2023, and you can see very fast and responsive. Let's try that one more time. So very quick there. And then we'll try it as well with the G Stylus 5G 2022. And you can see also very reliable, maybe a little bit slower. So it does seem like they made it a little bit better with the G Stylus 5G 2023, but overall it's pretty similar. And then both phones do feature face unlock. So I do appreciate that in addition to the fingerprint sensor, we do have another method to access the phones. Now, taking a look at the rear camera modules on these devices, there are some similarities, but also some differences. So the first difference, which is probably pretty obvious here, with the G Stylus 5G 2023, we have a dual camera setup compared to a triple camera setup with the predecessor. However, we're really only losing out on a dedicated depth sensing camera, which we don't have here with the 2023 model, and the depth sensing camera is used to help with portrait mode. So it seems like with the 2023 model of the phone, they found a way to basically eliminate that extra camera, but at the same time give us great looking portrait mode. And then as far as things go with the main camera and ultra wide cameras, they're both 50 and 8 megapixels on these two devices. But here's how things look on the camera app. This is the main rear camera on both phones. Then from there, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle cameras, allowing us to fit a lot more content into a single frame here. Now I will say, even through the viewfinder, it does seem like with the G Stylus 5G 2023, quality is much better. But let's take a photo sample right here of this plant with both phones and see how this turns out. There we go. Now I'll pull that up. We'll pull it up on the other phone as well. And this is kind of interesting. In this test, at least, it does seem like the camera quality is better on the 2022 model of the device. So it seems like the preview is better on the 2023, but then the final product is a little bit better on the older phone of the two. Now, I don't want that comparison to be a final conclusion on which phone has the better cameras. Overall, I think both are very capable, so I don't think nitpicking between the two cameras really does us any good here. But you can see there's also a button here for macro, even though there is no actual macro camera. So if you go there, I believe it actually uses the ultra wide camera to replicate a macro camera, but the final results are actually pretty good. So you can have things be really crisp and clear, even if you're getting very close up. And then heading over to portrait mode on these devices, you can use portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. You can also adjust the amount of blur as well, which is a nice feature, just like that. And then we can also flip around to the front-facing cameras in both phones and take portrait selfies. So there's me right there, got those nice blurred out backgrounds. Now, one benefit with the G Stylus 5G 2023 is that it does feature a group selfie option, so it kind of crops things out a little bit. And then you can also go over to the regular photo mode to take standard selfies. Now, when it comes to video recording, there is a pretty big difference. So with the G Stylus 5G 2023, you can take 4K video recording with the rear camera, whereas with the G Stylus 5G 2022, it is limited at just 1080p. So if you are someone who wants to take 4K video to put on your 4K TV, for example, then you can do that here with the 2023 model. Now, as far as processor and RAM go, there's actually less RAM with the G Stylus 5G 2023 compared to its predecessor. So we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM this time around compared to 8 gigabytes of RAM before. And then we are getting different processors. So with the G Stylus 5G 2023, we're getting the Qualcomm Snapdragon 6 Gen 1, and then with the G Stylus 5G 2022, we're getting the Snapdragon 695 5G processor. Now, as the names of these phones do imply, both phones are compatible with 5G connectivity. Now, at this point in 2023, I do feel like you can get by without having 5G, but at the same time, you may as well get a 5G compatible smartphone because that is the future and certainly where things are heading, and it'll definitely save you from having a phone that's obsolete sooner than later. But overall, I've been very impressed with the performance of both devices. I feel like both processors do provide a lot of power, and for most people, this is really all you need. Now, I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 6 on both devices, and here are the scores that I got. So as you can see, the G Stylus 5G 2023 certainly is the faster phone of the two, with that brand new Qualcomm Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 processor, which this is the first phone I've ever used with that processor, but I'm very impressed with these scores. And this definitely kind of corresponds to my experience of using the phone in real life as well, as it really is an impressive processor. So I am glad that they chose that processor. And then with both phones, we're getting very large 5,000 milliamp hour internal batteries. So just know that you're going to be getting very good battery life with both phones, as that level of capacity can easily get you through a full day, if not multiple days of usage. Another awesome thing too is that both phones do feature NFC. So if you do like to make mobile contactless payments using tap and pay, you can do that with either of these two phones. I know for me personally, I always use that feature with any phone that does have it. And if I'm testing a phone that doesn't have NFC, it really ends up being a big inconvenience. Really nowadays, I don't even pull my credit card out of my wallet. I just use my phone for payments. And then taking a look at the software here, both phones do run Android, of course, but the biggest difference is that we're getting Android 13 with the G Stylus 5G 2023, and then the predecessor is still stuck on Android 12. Now, I have no idea if, when, or ever this phone will get Android 13. I certainly hope it will, but it definitely seems like Motorola is in no hurry to do that. And looking back on Motorola's track record, they really don't have the best reputation when it comes to Android updates. So just know that whatever version of Android comes with your phone might be the final version of Android it gets. Now, if you don't care about getting new features when new versions of Android come out, then I suppose it's not really a big deal deal for you, but just know what you're getting into here. Now, thankfully, Motorola does do a really good job with their software. It's pretty similar to stock Android, but at the same time, they do add in some of their various bonus features. Now, the signature feature of both of these phones, which you probably noticed based on the names of them, is that they both have styluses built in. Now, overall, I don't find myself using the stylus every day, but when I do need it, it is very convenient. For example, if I want to sign a document, it's great for that, and even for doing things like taking notes, or drawing, or even sometimes doing video editing. The stylus does come in handy for that. So I definitely think it's a great feature, and what's nice is it tucks away, and you can forget about it when you don't need it. But the stylus mechanism here in both phones is pretty much the same. It's a pop out, pop in design, and then once you take the stylus out, you get this pop up on the side here, and then from there, there's some various applications which you can customize. You can put whatever you want in here, and then you can go in here, and then you can draw. So there we go, smiley face, and there we go. And then we'll try this out with the G Stylus 5G 2022. Pretty much the same thing. There we go. So definitely compared to more expensive devices like the Galaxy S23 Ultra, the styluses that we're getting with both of these phones are nowhere near as advanced. But at the same time, I think that for most people, they will be happy with what they're getting here, as we're definitely getting some of the core functionalities that you'd expect from a stylus with both phones. Now, the styluses on the two devices are pretty much the same size, and what's cool too is that you can actually use both of them to draw as well. So you can see like that, both work interchangeably. But taking a closer look at the hardware of both devices, I already talked quite a bit about the front panels here, as they're pretty much the same almost. But on the left side of both phones, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then on the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here, both phones have noise canceling microphones. And then on the bottom, both phones have 3.5mm headphone jacks, USB-C ports for charging and data transfer, microphones, and then the speakers, and then also the styluses. And then on the back of both phones, I like how both feature kind of a matte finish here, so they don't really pick up any fingerprints. But we have the camera module, flash, Motorola logo, and that's pretty much it. Keep in mind though that even though both of these phones look really premium, they are both made completely of plastic besides the displays, which are glass. So with that into consideration, I do recommend pairing these phones up with some sort of case, because plastic does scratch pretty easily as time goes on. But this concludes my comparison of the Moto G Stylus 5G 2023 versus the Moto G Stylus 5G 2022. Most importantly, I'm really curious to know what you think of these two phones. In general, I think the G Stylus 5G 2023 is a pretty decent successor, but at the same time, they don't really bring us too many things that are new. I do appreciate that we're getting 4K video recording this time around, and it is also nice that we're getting that Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 processor, but beyond that, it's really more of an evolution rather than a complete redesign. But in many ways, that's not necessarily a big deal, because the G Stylus 5G 2022 was already a really good phone. But definitely share what you think with me in the comment section below. But this is Kevin here, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and have a great rest of your day.